I'm naturalist and broadcaster Mike Dilger, and I'm a huge supporter of the Badger Trust and its work in promoting the awareness of badger persecution in all its forms. This video, brought to you by the Badger Trust, at times isn't an easy watch, but I do hope you find it informative and thought-provoking. Brock the Badger, of Wind in the Willows fame, is surely one of our most easily recognised and loved mammals, and has been living peaceably alongside us for thousands of years. But it's also an animal that has been persecuted since the dawn of time, abused for the cruel sport of baiting. Many badgers also end up being either shot or blocked in their own home due to a combination of prejudice and ignorance. As a result, legislation was brought in to halt this unrelenting persecution. The 1992 Protection of Badgers Act is crystal clear. It's illegal to either harm a badger in any way or interfere with its set without a government-approved licence. So why is this law being so widely flouted? My mission is to see why badger persecution is so common.
Getting these to court and they're getting custodial sentences.
And to find out what the police,
you know, we're talking high-level cruelty, quite often money getting exchanged,
and wildlife conservation charities
It's a crime scene, Mike. You know, when this happens, this is a serious event.
are doing to stop this insidious crime.
I've worked with badgers for over 30 years now, and they don't deserve the cruelty that's dealt out to them.
Craig Fellows of the Badger Trust is an expert on all the different types of illegal persecution.
Persecution takes various forms. Baiting and digging is very much closely associated, and this is the one that disgusts most members of the public. So it will take place generally during the day, digged into the set, abstract the badger, and then sometimes it can be thrown to the dogs. It's a slow death for them. Several dogs ripping at the badger, continually having a go at it. And they will assist the dogs. Sometimes they will hit them with sticks, spades, they will stamp on them, but quite often, first off, it's let the dogs have their fun.
And it's not just the badgers suffering. The baiters' dogs frequently pick up horrendous injuries as well.
Set blocking has to be the most serious one in respect to the incident data. A lot of this has been done in connection with the fox hunting issues and the blocking of sets in order to prevent the fox escaping. Construction, that creates a whole thing in destruction of the whole set, but also blocking them. So it's pushing them away, trying to drive them away, and people believe by blocking sets that that's what may be the effect. You know, they'll pack their bags and get out. There are forms of snaring in this country that are legal, but they're not allowed to be used at all in relation to badgers. And that is a method that is used, but it's an illegal method. Obviously shooting's allowed under licence in relation to the cull. Humane dispatch, so an injured animal at the side of the road, again shooting would be allowed. Otherwise shooting is banned. But shooting does happen. We have had reports of shooting. There has been badger carcasses that have been found. So it is important to understand that shooting in relation to the cull under licence is allowed as long as it's done in the conditions of the licence. Outside the cull zone it's not allowed. Lamping is the use of a high-powered lamp at night, turning it on the badger, illuminating them in the field away from their set, and then quite often, sometimes the dogs will be involved, or sometimes if they're going to be shot, obviously dogs wouldn't be involved, then they will shoot them and dispatch them immediately. Gassing certainly is not as common these days as it used to be, and there were a number of incidents, and I dealt with an incident some years ago with regards to this product Cymag being used, and that gives off cyanide gas. I think there is some confusion amongst the public with regards to the badger cull. Some of the public seem to think it's a cull, you're allowed to shoot them, so we can shoot them anywhere in the country. The government say it's okay in one area, but not in those other areas. What a lot of people don't understand as well is if the badgers are causing a problem, quite often you can get the licence.
One police force determined to see the law being upheld is here in North Yorkshire, and I've been invited to come and see how they tackle illegal persecution of badgers firsthand. Training courses are helping police officers understand the legislation in order to ensure successful prosecutions, with the Badger Trust booklet helping to outline the legislation while also providing guidance during the investigation of crimes against badgers and the enforcement of the law.
When you mix them together, we're getting it right at the scene first time. And also
Inspector Kevin Kelly of the North Yorkshire Police leads the Badger Persecution Priority Delivery Group. Police resources are limited. How important is wildlife crime?
I remember a time where it wasn't important and we didn't used to go to it, but what I've managed to do over the years is highlight how the type of people who commit it are linked to often serious and organised crime. You know, we're talking high-level cruelty, quite often money getting exchanged. It's not just somebody going out taking a rabbit for the pot.
And who are perpetrating these crimes against badgers?
When we look at the baiting offence, we've got people who put a lot of planning into it. Some field sports are commonly associated to set blocking. We get the disturbance side of things from development. So each type of crime has got its own demographic of people. What we do find in North Yorkshire, though, with the traditional baiting and the cruelty side of things, is you've got this kind of national network that's digitally enabled that can come anywhere. We tend to find a lot of people travel across border because we're so green, so open, and that reflects nationally. I see the national picture as well. You know, rural forces are quite easily targeted when your local cops can be 30, 40, 50 plus miles away.
And of course the police are responsible for charging, prosecuting, upholding the law, but you can't be working alone.
It would be wrong whenever we get a conviction to claim that it's only the police that have done that. Wildlife crime is successful as it is now, and it's been brought to the forefront, and it's got the first nationally because of partnership working. When we work quite closely with the Badger Trust, the RSPCA, League Against Cruel Sports, we work with the National Wildlife Crime Unit, you've got this kind of infallible pot of knowledge and drive to get things done.
With the indoor presentations over, it's time for the officers to put into practice what they've learnt. Accompanying them on this exercise are the RSPCA and the Badger Trust. Of course, no training course on badgers should be complete without a field visit. However, at this time of the year, the sows underground are very heavily pregnant, so we don't want to disturb a real set. So we've come to Forestry England's Cropton Forest and a mocked up set to see how police officers should collect evidence at a crime scene. Taking the officers through processing an illegally disturbed badger set is CSI Mike Crockford.
You've got to treat this scene like you would treat any other crime scene, and that is you're looking for evidence to potentially find an offender and link an offender to a scene. You've got a glove.
Craig believes these courses have already delivered results. Are you seeing an improvement in successful convictions?
I can think of an incident fairly recently out far away in Humberside where 2 officers attending the badger courses. Those 2 officers 2 weeks later get a phone call to suspected badger diggers. They go out to the scene, they had the confidence to secure the evidence, and both have said that they would have struggled to know what to do without having the training.
And one notable success occurred here in North Yorkshire in 2019. RSPCA Inspector Jeff Edmond was one of the first to respond to the incident. So Jeff, why have we come to this set at Hovingham?
We've come to this set because this was a set that was attacked last year, to which we had a successful prosecution in court.
Take me back to how it all happened.
I remember that morning very well. Got a phone call from the police. We've got some badger diggers caught in action. Dropped everything, came out here. A number of police officers, particularly people involved, have been arrested. And it was a mess. I mean, the badger set had been dug. We had an injured terrier. We have that to get to the vets. But what's key is it's a crime scene, Mike. You know, when this happens, this is a serious event.
So when did the police get involved and the RSPCA, or is it a case of you coming together and working together?
We have to work in partnership with the police. We have to do it properly and we have to do it thoroughly. It's got to be recorded, it's got to be photographed, it's got to be videoed. We need an expert here and we need to secure all that evidence.
So the guys were arrested, the dog was taken. What happened then?
They were prosecuted, went to court and they pleaded guilty at court. It was a very, very successful file, a massive amount of work by North Yorkshire Police, massive amount of work from us to put that file together. And I can't stress enough, this is serious crime. These people are travelling long distances. This isn't somebody down the road who's come to dig badgers. This is organised crime.
The charity is also calling on cutting-edge technology to help secure prosecutions.
The RSPCA has a number of very successful cases as well. After this one last year, we had a case in Lancashire where an injured badger was found at the scene. We were able to get DNA from the badger, worked out who this might be. From a DNA swab from that dog, it was matched to the badger. As forensic techniques develop more and more, then we can use those. And who would have thought that, you know, we're going to that level?
It's great to hear about occasions where the law's been successfully upheld, but it would be much better to stop this appalling activity in the first place. So I'm joining a police patrol specifically aimed at rural crime prevention. Thanks, Mark. Police Constable Mark Atkinson and Community Support Officer Andy Birkenshaw form part of North Yorkshire Police's Rural Task Force.
There's two of us covering how many square miles, Andy?
640 square miles.
That's Rydale alone, so there's just Andy and I on the Rural Task Force covering that area.
Yeah. What are you looking for in terms of signs of illegal activity in rural areas?
General patrolling, we're looking for suspect vehicles pulled up at the roadside, we're looking for people walking across land with dogs, and in which case we'll then aim to go and approach these people and find out what they're doing, whether they've got permission, what they're actually doing. And we're relying on people from our rural communities contacting us to say they're seeing something suspicious that's not quite right, and then we'll go and investigate.
Given the huge area the officers have to patrol, it was perhaps unsurprising that on this occasion, no acts of criminality were observed. One way to tackle badger persecution in all its forms is to recruit local eyes and ears. And I'm off to meet one such group who are determined to ensure that no badgers come to harm on their local patch. Local badger groups across England and Wales carry out vital work in rescuing and rehabilitating badgers, monitoring sets for damage and helping prevent badger persecution. I'm meeting up with the Essex Badger Protection Group. So what are the group doing this morning?
Okay, this morning we're revisiting a set to check it for signs of occupancy and making sure everything's okay and that no damage has been done to the set.
So what type of persecution are you seeing in this part of Essex?
Right, well the main issues we have in Essex are due to development. More recently we've had one round the corner to here with a BMX track that was actually built on top of a badger set, and that's caused horrific damage to the set. It's basically totally destroyed it, which is very upsetting. Badger sets, I guess, are ideal sites for BMX enthusiasts because they've got ready-made hills and slopes that the badgers are created for them, but we're finding more and more that particularly when they do development on greenbelt land, which is getting more and more common nowadays, badgers are being pushed out of their habitat into smaller and smaller spaces. We do get occasional people that absolutely hate them being in their garden. Some of them take matters into their own hands and get rid of the badgers. There is a need for houses. The government have given the go-ahead for developers to start developing land. So, you know, it's a problem that's going to get a lot worse in the future, I can see.
It's uplifting to see so many people giving up their time freely to monitor and protect sets. But I'm keen to find out what happens to any badgers that fall victim to these illegal activities. Pauline Kidner has been helping rehabilitate abandoned or injured badgers at Secret World in Somerset for over 30 years. Pauline, you know badgers very well. What proportion of the animals that come in have been illegally persecuted?
Persecution, snares, dogs, shooting, all those sorts of things, sadly, we see here quite regularly.
And she encounters snare-related issues with monotonous regularity.
Badger being a big animal, it twists and turns it into a self-locking snare. And some of the injuries we've seen where they've been caught around their mouth, caught around their bodies, caught around their paws, it's just awful.
A badger that has been snared, can it make a recovery?
They can make recoveries of really bad injuries sometimes, but really important for people to know that if you see an animal caught in a snare, whatever you do, get somebody experienced to come and deal with it. Never, never let them out of the snares, because the injuries that they're going to have from that snare will be horrendous and they will get worse for a few days before eventually you can do something to help them heal. I've worked with badgers for over 30 years now, and they don't deserve the cruelty that's dealt out to them. They are quiet family creatures, and we can self-feed them when they come in and they understand that we're helping them.
And when badgers have come in as a result of persecution, what success rate do you have getting them back to the wild?
Badgers are very good on success. I would imagine that we probably get at least 60 to 70% back to the wild, giving them a second chance.
So how can you help the police and conservation organisations protect these iconic and charismatic mammals?
So you have recognise a wildlife crime, understand it. You don't have to know the details, just recognise that I think there's a criminal offence being committed. Recording, making notes, taking photographs of registration numbers, but be careful not to go too close to the individuals. Don't ever put yourself at risk. And then reporting is fairly simple. Offence is taking place, 999. 101 is an option. Use the Badger Trust web reporting form. Do use that. It's a fairly straightforward, easy thing to do. Or you can ultimately use Crime Stoppers.
I'm the proud patron of the Essex Badger Protection Group, one of a number of member groups supporting the work of the Badger Trust in their fight against the persecution of badgers right across England and Wales. And you too can support this charity by either becoming a member or making a donation. Finally, please do share this video with family, friends and colleagues, and thank you so much for watching.